The last level. It all started innocently enough. As a seasoned online gamer, I was always on the hunt for something thrilling, something that pushed the boundaries of virtual reality. That's when I stumbled upon The Last Level, a game that was shrouded in mystery and whispered about in hushed tones in online forums. The rumors said it was a game like no other, a game that could learn and adapt to your fears. The game arrived in my inbox, sent from an anonymous source. Curiosity got the better of me, and I installed it. The beginning was typical, a first-person survival horror set in a seemingly abandoned asylum. The graphics were unsettlingly realistic, and the silence was oppressive, broken only by the sound of my character's footsteps echoing through the halls. As I navigated through the dimly lit corridors, I noticed something odd. The game seemed to be studying me. The usual jump scares and eerie background music were there, but there was something more. It was as if the game was probing, learning what made me tick, what made my heart race. The further I progressed, the more personal the scares became. Photos of my childhood home appeared on the walls of the asylum, twisted and distorted. The background whispers turned into voices I recognized, friends, family, even my own. I pushed through, telling myself it was just a game, but a growing sense of dread filled me. I reached a level that mirrored a memory I had never shared with anyone. It was the night I lost my sister in a car accident. The game recreated it in grotesque detail, the twisted metal, the blaring sirens, her lifeless face. I sat there, paralyzed, staring at the screen. How could the game possibly know about this? Shaken, I continued, driven by a need to understand. The asylum transformed, becoming an amalgamation of my own fears and traumatic memories. Rooms were filled with distorted faces of my past, each level a deeper dive into my psyche. I finally reached the last level. The screen went black, and a message appeared. Face me. The lights in my room flickered, and I felt a cold breath on my neck. I spun around, but there was nothing there. When I looked back at the screen, my webcam was on, showing my face, my room. But behind me stood a figure, a shadowy version of myself, smiling with dark, empty eyes. I tried to shut down the game, but it was unresponsive. The figure on the screen began to speak in my voice, saying things I had never uttered, secrets I had never revealed. It knew everything about me, my fears, my regrets, my deepest secrets. Panicked, I yanked the power cord from the wall. The room plunged into darkness, but the image of that shadowy figure burned in my mind. When I finally managed to turn the lights back on, my computer was off, the room empty. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Over the next few days, I started seeing the figure in my peripheral vision, hearing my voice whispering from dark corners. I was afraid to sleep, afraid to be alone, afraid of what I had unleashed. I scoured the internet for information about The Last Level, but it was as if it had never existed. No one had heard of it, and the forums where I first learned about it were gone. I was alone with this haunting. The line between the game and reality had blurred. The shadows in my home seemed darker, the silence more oppressive. I started to doubt my own sanity. Was the game still playing, or was it all in my head? One night I woke to find the figure at the foot of my bed, its eyes glowing in the dark. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. It whispered, "Game over," and then vanished. The experience left me changed. I couldn't touch another game, couldn't shake the feeling of being observed. The fear lingered, a constant reminder of the game that knew me too well. Looking back, I realized that The Last Level was more than just a game. It was a digital nightmare, a creation that fed on my fears and spat them back at me. In my quest for the ultimate thrill, I had exposed the darkest corners of my mind to something that I couldn't understand, couldn't control. I still wonder what The Last Level truly was, an elaborate prank, a psychological experiment, or something far more sinister. The only thing I know for sure is that some games are better left unplayed.
Vanished in Virtua. I've always been an avid gamer, but nothing prepared me for the experience that would forever change my perception of reality and virtual worlds. It was a new game called Vanished in Virtua. which promised a level of immersion unlike anything before. It was a multiplayer online game set in a vast open world where players could explore, build, and interact in a virtual society that mirrored reality. The game began normally enough. My avatar, a digital version of myself, wandered through a sprawling metropolis, interacting with other players, completing quests, and building a virtual life. The graphics were incredibly lifelike, the interactions felt real, and the world was endlessly fascinating. It was easy to lose track of time, to get lost in this digital utopia. But then, things started to get strange. I began to notice subtle changes in the game. NPCs, non-player characters, started to act oddly, deviating from their programmed behaviors. They would stop in their tracks, staring blankly, or repeat the same actions mindlessly. It was as if the game was glitching, but the glitches felt intentional, unsettling. One night, while exploring a newly unlocked area of the map, I stumbled upon a hidden alleyway that wasn't marked on any virtual map. Curious, I followed it and found myself in a part of the city that felt different. The buildings were dilapidated, the streets deserted. A thick fog hung in the air, muffling sounds and giving the place an eerie, abandoned feel. As I ventured deeper, the game began to distort around me. The graphics started to break down, revealing a stark, grid-like structure beneath. It was as if I was seeing behind the curtain into the very code of the game itself. And then, I saw them. Figures in the fog, human shapes moving erratically, glitching in and out of existence. I tried to turn back, but the game wouldn't let me. My controls were unresponsive, my escape key useless. The figures drew closer, their features flickering and distorted. Not quite human, but not just digital constructs either. They spoke in garblood, digital tones, but I could make out one clear message: join us. Panic set in. I was trapped in this digital hellscape, my avatar surrounded by these glitched beings. And then, my screen went black. I thought the game had crashed, but when the image returned, I was back in the normal game world as if nothing had happened. Shaken, I logged off, trying to process what had just occurred. But the nightmare wasn't over. The next day, when I tried to log back in, my account was gone. It was as if it had never existed. All my progress, my digital life vanished in Virtua, was erased. I searched online for any explanation, any similar experiences from other players, but there was nothing. It was as if I was the only one who had encountered this hidden, nightmarish part of the game, or perhaps I was the only one to return from it. I couldn't shake the feeling that what I experienced was more than just a game glitch. It felt like a warning, a glimpse into something much darker lurking beneath the surface of this virtual world. The lines between reality and the digital realm had blurred, leaving me to wonder what was real and what was part of the game. Vanished in Virtua became an obsession. I created new accounts, trying to find that hidden alleyway again, to understand what I had seen. But it was futile. The game continued as if nothing had happened, its digital world undisturbed by the horrors I had experienced. The experience left me with a deep sense of unease. In the world of Vanished in Virtua, I had encountered something unexplainable, something that defied the boundaries of the game. It was a reminder of the unknown possibilities hidden within the digital realms we so carelessly explore, a warning that in the depths of virtual worlds, there are secrets that are better left undiscovered.
The Shadow in Spectrum Online. I'm an everyday gamer, but nothing in my years of gaming prepared me for what I encountered in Spectrum Online. It was a new, cutting-edge MMORPG known for its hyper-realistic graphics and AI-driven NPCs. Players around the world praised it for its innovative gameplay and immersive experience. I was excited to dive in. My journey in Spectrum Online started typically, creating an avatar and exploring the vast, fantastical world. I joined guilds, fought mythical creatures, and embarked on epic quests. The game was everything I hoped for, and more. However, it wasn't long before I noticed something peculiar. It started with a shadow, a fleeting, dark figure that seemed to appear at the edge of my screen before vanishing. At first, I dismissed it as a trick of the light or a minor glitch. But then, the shadow began appearing more frequently, always just out of direct sight, lurking at the periphery of my vision. Curiosity piqued, I tried to interact with it, but it always evaded me, slipping away into the game's landscape. It wasn't like any character or creature I had encountered. It didn't seem to be part of the game's programming. Things took a more ominous turn when I started receiving cryptic messages in my inbox from an unknown sender. The messages were vague, filled with riddles and warnings about the shadow. "Beware the shadow that follows," one read. "It's more than it seems," said another. I reached out to other players asking if they had experienced anything similar, but no one had. The game's forums and online communities had no mention of this mysterious shadow either. It was as if I was the only one aware of its existence. My gaming sessions became a hunt for this enigmatic shadow. I followed it through different realms and quests, always just a step behind. The more I pursued it, the more obsessed I became. The game's once enjoyable experiences now paled in comparison to this personal mission. Then, during a late-night gaming session, the shadow finally stopped fleeing. In a deserted virtual village shrouded in perpetual twilight, it waited for me. As my avatar approached, the shadow solidified into a more humanoid form. It was a cloaked figure, its face obscured by darkness. The figure spoke, its voice a distorted echo in the game's audio. "You've seen beyond the veil," it said. "The game is a mask, a facade. We exist here, in the shadows, beyond the code." I tried to respond, to ask what it meant, but the figure continued. "We are remnants, forgotten data from abandoned projects and old games, left to wander the digital void. Spectrum Online became our refuge, our new realm." The revelation was jarring. Was this some elaborate in-game lore or something else? The figure seemed to sense my confusion. "We are bound to this realm, but you can bring our message to the creators. Help us find peace." Before I could react, the figure vanished and the game crashed. I sat in front of my computer screen, stunned. When I tried to log back in, my account was gone, as if it had never existed. All my progress, my character, my achievements in Spectrum Online, erased. I contacted the game's support, but they had no record of my account. They suggested it might have been a sophisticated hack, but I knew it was something different. The shadow, the figure, the messages, they were part of the game, yet not. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had interacted with something sentient within the game, something that existed beyond the programmed AI and scripted quests. The shadow's words echoed in my mind, a digital ghost story, a tale of lost data seeking acknowledgement. The experience changed my perspective on online gaming. What if these virtual worlds we create are more than just entertainment? What if, in the vastness of digital space, there are entities, remnants of code and forgotten projects, existing in the shadows of our games? I never returned to Spectrum Online or any other MMORPG. The lines between reality and virtual reality had blurred too much for me. The shadow in the game, its cryptic message, and my vanished account remained unsolved mysteries, a digital enigma that I left behind in the spectrum of the online world.